The rejection landed like a closing door echoing through an empty hallway, final and unforgiving, and Michael Carter felt it in his chest before he felt it in his feet as he turned away from the glass tower. He adjusted the strap of his worn leather bag, the one that still smelled faintly of crayons and laundry soap from his son's backpack, and began to walk. Behind him, the building shimmered with wealth and certainty, but ahead lay only the cold sidewalk and the weight of another failed attempt to build a future for a little boy who believed his father could fix anything. In that moment, Michael did not know that every step away from the interview was pulling him closer to the one chance that would change everything. Before the story unfolds further, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when people choose compassion over convenience. Michael had never planned to be a single father, but life had rewritten his plans without asking permission. 2 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving behind silence in their small Ohio home, and a 6-year-old boy named Noah, who woke up crying in the middle of the night, asking questions no one could answer. Michael worked nights at a warehouse and days driving for delivery apps, catching sleep in fragments and hope in smaller pieces. The interview that morning had felt like a lifeline. A steady job, benefits, dignity. He had ironed his only suit at dawn while Noah slept on the couch, clutching his favorite stuffed bear, unaware of how much depended on his father's smile that day. Inside the building, everything had gleamed. Polished floors, quiet confidence, people who walked like they knew where they were going and believed they belonged there. Michael had sat across from the hiring panel with his resume neatly printed, hands folded to hide the calluses, answering questions with honesty instead of polish. When asked about the gap in his employment, he spoke of caring for his son, of nights spent learning how to braid hair for school spirit days and mornings packed with peanut butter sandwiches and promises. He could feel the temperature in the room shift, subtle but unmistakable, as though responsibility and devotion were liabilities instead of strengths. The interview ended politely, efficiently, and without warmth. Now outside, the autumn wind cut through his jacket as he walked past suited professionals and tourists who paused to take photos of the skyline. Michael's phone buzzed with a reminder to pick up Noah from school in an hour, and the reality of rent, groceries, and medical bills pressed down harder than the sky above him. He told himself he was used to disappointment, but this one stung because he had let himself hope. He had pictured telling Noah that Daddy got the job, that maybe things would be easier now, that maybe they could breathe. What Michael did not see was the figure watching from the lobby window above, a man whose name appeared on business magazines and charitable foundations alike. Jonathan Reed, founder and CEO of Reed Technologies, had not planned to sit in on interviews that day. He rarely did anymore. But something about the candidate with the tired eyes and steady voice had caught his attention. Jonathan had built his empire from nothing, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs and still found time to sit beside him at night, teaching him that integrity mattered more than profit. Listening to Michael speak about fatherhood had stirred memories he kept carefully buried beneath board meetings and quarterly reports. Jonathan had noticed the way Michael did not complain, did not ask for sympathy, only explained his choices with quiet conviction. He had also noticed the discomfort among the panel, the unspoken judgment that caring deeply might interfere with performance. When the final decision came down, Jonathan had remained silent, telling himself that the system worked the way it always had. But as he watched Michael leave, shoulders squared but spirit clearly bruised, something inside him refused to stay quiet. Michael had nearly reached the corner when he heard hurried footsteps behind him, sharp against the pavement. He did not turn at first, assuming it was another passerby late for a meeting, but the steps grew closer, urgent, and a presence fell into stride beside him. Jonathan Reed, breath slightly uneven, adjusted his coat and looked at Michael with an expression that surprised them both, something like resolve mixed with regret. People slowed to watch, sensing an unusual moment unfolding between a man who carried the weight of the world on his shoulders and another who carried the weight of a child's trust. Jonathan spoke then, not as a billionaire but as a son who remembered watching his mother come home exhausted, as a man who had promised himself never to forget where he came from. He acknowledged the failure of the interview process, the narrow definitions of success that overlooked character and resilience. He admitted that the company had made a mistake, and that sometimes leadership meant correcting course in public, even if pride had to be set aside. Michael listened, stunned, his heart pounding with confusion and a cautious flicker of hope he did not dare to name. They stood there on the sidewalk, two lives intersecting in a way neither had planned. Jonathan explained that Reed Technologies needed people who understood responsibility beyond profit, people who showed up even when life was heavy. He offered Michael not just a job, but flexibility, understanding, and the chance to grow into a role that valued who he was as much as what he could do. For the first time in months, Michael felt the tightness in his chest loosen, just a little, as if the world had exhaled with him. The days that followed were a blur of change. Michael started work the next Monday, his schedule adjusted so he could drop Noah off at school and be there for soccer practice in the afternoons. The office, once intimidating, became a place where his perspective mattered, where colleagues like Sarah Whitman and Andrew Collins respected his insights and admired his dedication. Jonathan made it a point to check in, not with grand gestures but with genuine interest, asking about Noah's science projects and remembering Michael's favorite coffee order. The job did not erase grief or struggle, but it gave Michael something precious: stability. At home, the change was felt in small, meaningful ways. Groceries filled the fridge instead of lingering on a list. Bills were paid on time. Noah noticed the difference in his father's smile, in the way Michael no longer stared at the ceiling late into the night, calculating impossible numbers. One evening, as they built a model airplane together at the kitchen table, Michael realized he was laughing without forcing it, the sound surprising and healing all at once. Jonathan, too, found himself changed by the encounter. He began revisiting company policies, pushing for parental support programs and redefining success metrics to include humanity. He spoke at leadership meetings about the unseen battles people fought and the responsibility businesses had to see beyond resumes. The story of the single father who walked away from an interview became a quiet legend within the company, not told to glorify Jonathan but to remind everyone that empathy was not a weakness, but a strength that could transform lives. Months later, at a company family day held in a park overlooking Lake Michigan, Michael watched Noah run with other children, his laughter carried on the breeze. Jonathan stood nearby speaking with Rebecca Lawson from Human Resources about expanding community outreach programs. Their eyes met, and in that brief exchange, there was understanding without words, gratitude flowing both ways. Michael knew that his life had shifted, because someone had chosen to run after him instead of letting him disappear into the crowd. As the sun dipped low and families packed up picnic blankets, Michael reflected on the fragile line between despair and hope, how easily his story could have ended differently. He thought of the countless parents walking away from closed doors every day, unseen and unheard, and he promised himself never to forget how it felt to be on the other side. He would mentor others, speak up, and pass on the kindness that had saved him. If this story has touched your heart, if it has reminded you that compassion can change destinies, please take a moment to like, share, and engage with this video so more people can feel this message of hope. Before the ending, we have one special request for you. Please comment below with the words "Second Chances Matter" and share your own story or thoughts, because your voice could inspire someone who needs it today. Michael tucked Noah into bed that night, listening to his son breathe softly, the steady rhythm of a future no longer defined by fear. Outside, the city hummed with possibility, and somewhere in a glass tower, a billionaire CEO slept knowing that one decision made with heart had rewritten two lives. Sometimes miracles do not arrive with fanfare or light, but with footsteps on a sidewalk, a voice calling you back when you are walking away, and the simple, powerful truth that you are seen, valued, and worthy of another chance.